There's some mistakes that you can make that can sink your photo studio and make you go out of business. In this video, there's gonna be 10 things that I want you to make sure that you're not doing, or if you're gonna open a studio, you avoid entirely. So number one is you wanna make sure that you are charging enough per hour. As a photographer, I came into the studio just to record this video. It took us about 45 minutes just to set everything up, and I'm just doing a YouTube video. Now, if you get somebody that's coming in, they're probably gonna rent 4 hours minimum from you, but a lot of people are gonna rent 8 hours, and they just want to have that cushion, they wanna have that creativity to have hair, makeup, do everything. So let's assume 8 hours, or you do 2 sessions in a day, 4 hours, and you have 4 hours on the back end. If you were to only charge $30, after 8 hours, you're gonna make $240. If you were to charge me $38 an hour, you're still in that 30 range zone, that $30 to $39 zone. You're on the high end of it. So let's say 38 bucks. That extra $8 an hour is not going to scare me away as a client, but that extra 8 bucks an hour is gonna put a lot more money in your pocket. So if you were to go from $30 an hour to 38 an hour, you are gonna make $308 per day. That's a difference of 68 bucks. Now 68, let's just say, so you have a studio, you could be open 7 days a week, but let's just say you book 5 days and you're a regular human and you want 2 days off. 68 times 5 is 320 bucks a week, and 320 times 4, 640, 1280. 1,280 bucks is a lot of money. That could pay for half of your studio. Depending on the size of the studio, that could pay for your whole studio rent. Just by increasing it from 30 to 38, for example. A few extra dollars isn't going to be a deal breaker, but for the studio owner, all those little incremental increases make a huge difference. Second way you're gonna kill your studio, go out of business, is by not limiting the minimum number of hours. This studio today, we rented 2 hours, but because I was a former studio owner, I wanted to do it earlier because I wanna make sure that the studio owner has the latter half of the day or most of the day so he can rent it out to other people. But there were a lot of people when I had my studio, they're like, can I just rent for an hour or two? I'm like, sure, I'm already here. And they would wanna rent it, let's just say, at 12 p.m. because they want to wake up a little bit later, but they also want to be able to go out in the evening, get some drinks, etc. So they want to rent it from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. So now, 12 to 1 p.m., that means I really can't rent the studio out in the morning, and I cannot really rent it out in the evening. What if somebody wants to come from 12 to 5 p.m.? Well, I can't. I'm like, well, you could really come in at 1:30 because I need 30 minutes break between each client, and you killed the whole day. So you always want to have a minimum number of hours. I believe the studio is 2 hour minimum. So I got the 2 hours because we're doing 2 videos here, and then we are out. I would say 3 hours is absolutely reasonable, and depends on what part of town you're in. If there's not a lot of studios, you could do a 4 hour minimum. 4 hours is a good amount of time. But this way, they're not killing your entire day. And if they do, you're at least getting paid for 4. Number 3, ignoring social media. I know you got a lot to do. When I had a studio, I had to paint this whole sucker. It was 2 or 3 times bigger than this. At some point, I just start putting paint and then taking a mop and just swashing it around. It was the worst thing. You have to clean up the footprints off the wall. You have to put the tables back. You have to check for things that are, you just got a whole endless list of things to do. So the last thing you wanna do is also be a content creation studio, but you have to, because it is the best form of advertisement and it's free. So how I did my studio is I got most of my advertisement from Instagram. Just by people coming in and taking pictures, tagging the studio. Of course, other photographers have other photographer friends, makeup artists, hairstylists, etc. And so it spreads throughout the community. So when they came to check out the studio, now my studio was a little bit different. It wasn't like a white space. It was fully dressed set. There were 3 living rooms, etc. You want to make sure that you give them moments that they're like, I want to take a picture here. Oh, cool. Can you take a shot? Whether they book your studio or not, no opportunity is ever lost. So get on social media and create something for them that makes them want to take a picture. In my studio, I had in my hair and makeup room, a wall probably like this, 14, 16 feet high. And it was all black and white cutouts inspired by CBGB bathroom. And it was black and white laser print of Kate Moss and Madonna. Both are like old school, both are still out working. And it was like this collage. It was so cool. Every single person, whether they were doing a hip hop music video or a makeup tutorial or a model shoot or a movie, they came in, they're like, oh shoot, take a picture. Because for me, those two people have been working for 40 plus years. So it was cool for them to just take a picture, and it looked cool, like one of those old bathrooms in like the New York heydays of like the clubs and everything. They would tag me, and then I would get DMs saying, hey, I just saw your studio on my friend's Instagram. What are your hourly rates? The second one I had was a police lineup wall. The police lineup wall, people loved to stand in front of it. And I had a little chalkboard, and it said 5 Point Studios. At the time, that's what it was called. And then they could write their name if they wanted, and they kind of held it. Those two things advertised my studio for free. One laser printer just took a bunch of, like a stack of Arima paper, $10, $20, and then a cartridge, $40, $50. That's all that it was. That thing advertised my whole studio. I never bought one paid ad. The police lineup one, it was a music video I directed. I told the art department person, please just leave that here. So don't underestimate the power of social media and underestimate the power of an Instagrammable moment. You want to get really basic people into your studio, but there's a lot of them, get angel wings. Oh my God, if you can see angel wings on any city wall, there's always somebody holding a Starbucks cup and like taking a picture by it. This lesson took me the longest time to learn, but once I learned it, I became like, I took it almost too far. I enjoyed it too much, okay? You have to learn to speak people's language. Kind people speak kindness. Lazy people speak laziness. You have to speak people's language. So when I got people coming into my studio, there were all kinds of people, and I realized that I had to draw my boundaries really boldly. People expect you to have boundaries as a studio owner. You cannot operate a studio business if you don't have boundaries, if you're afraid to speak up for yourself. When you do boundaries, that's actually respectful for the other person, because you're giving them the ingredients it takes for them to not mess up. You cannot do this. If you do this, that's what it costs. So you can't leave people out there guessing. If you say you can't do this, you can do this, you cannot go here, you can go there, now they know the rules, and they have a much higher chance of being a good client and successful in their day. Give people the puzzle pieces. So in my studio, I had people, for whatever reason, lean against the wall, and they would put their foot up against the wall. Why? You would never do that. So I had to put in the contract $10 per footprint. Half a footprint is a footprint. A third of a footprint is a footprint. So $10 per footprint. And they had to give me a cash, I had a different kind of studio, so they also give me a security deposit too. I would walk around. This is crazy, but it's not crazy. It's crazy that I had to do it. So I would walk around and I'm like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Do you see this? Why do you think that that's okay? So if you drop those boundaries on people and say, listen, you dirty up, you disrespect my studio, you're gonna be charged $10 per footprint. That's gonna take you some time to get some paint, brush it, let it dry. It takes away from you handling your business. So you have to have boundaries. You have to say, if you're late, the clock starts per the contract. If you leave after a 15-minute increment, you incur another 30 minutes. And that's coming out of your security deposit. You have to have boundaries. If you don't have boundaries, people are gonna run all over you. You gotta have security cameras. They have one here, they probably have one up front, a doorbell. I'm sure there's a third one here somewhere. You got to have security cameras because most people are great, but not everyone was raised the same. So you're bringing in so many different people. That includes people just having a good time, people working. Oftentimes it includes somewhat nudity or clothes where somebody is vulnerable. And so you would never want to have a camera, obviously, in anywhere where there's a dressing room. And you want to make sure that it's never hidden and it's very obvious, like there's here. But when you have a camera, it is, number one, a deterrent. So people are less likely to act like an ass in your space. They can go take that elsewhere. It preserves you. And number two, less lawsuits if you have cameras, because you can prove your innocence. You can prove that they were negligent. You can prove that they may have faked it. Sounds like a lot of bad news, but every business has everywhere. Like, you cannot go anywhere anymore without a camera. It's total 1984, but you got to put Big Brother in your studio too. So do not open a studio if you cannot get a camera that records and uploads it to a cloud. Super downer, but let's move to the next one. Client feedback is so important. So one of the things that I would do if people would rent my studio, obviously I'm not shooting, but I was there. I had a full office there. And I would just walk around, because there's always somebody that is happy and they're just like, or they're waiting on someone. It could be a parent, it could be a manager, a publicist. It could be the photographer waiting on the hair and makeup. And you just walk in, and it's just good customer service on your part to be like, hey, do you need anything? You guys good? Everything works? Cool, I'm gonna be on a phone call for 10 minutes. But just to check in with them. I got the most amount of feedback when I did these little patrols. And I wasn't like walking around like a cop, you know, arms crossed and anything. But I just was like, you guys good? Super friendly face. Show them that you're visible. Show them that you're aware. Show them that you're available to help and that you're supportive. So I got like a little cart. I forgot the name of it off the top of my head. But the little cart that you put for photographers, what's that DIT cart? Okay. It's a little DIT cart where you could put the lenses and it has like a power strip and you wheel it around. This way the photographer isn't moving all these expensive lenses and camera bodies, etc. I got that because someone's like, Waleed, you don't have one of these carts and you need one. That's from the feedback. Listen, you can never know too much. Always, always, always listen, always ask, always implement where you can, and always assess. Let's go to the next one. This one is real easy. Number 7, not having backup systems. So you could have, there's a lights over here, but you can have a lot of lights. Sometimes people don't necessarily treat people's equipment the right way. And so you could get a bad review. Singular bad reviews end up becoming 2 to 3 and then end up really sinking your studio. So you always want to have a backup light. As soon as you can afford it, get a second one. As soon as you can afford 2 C-stands, get like a third. Always have some backup stuff. Don't go crazy overboard on it. But things break, things shatter. You want to always have a backup because it's not just for the bad reviews or not getting the bad reviews, but also because you want to take care of your peers. And so if you have a photographer that has paid everyone on staff, that's booked a model and everything, and they're coming to your studio expecting to use a certain kind of light or a light modifier, and you don't have that for them, it's kind of bad. So you want to make sure that you take care of your peers, and then the market will take care of you. Always and forever. Since I'm here and there's a wall behind me, let's talk about mistake number 8. If you yourself are a photographer and you have a studio that you shoot out of but you also rent, which is why you're watching this video, if you don't put your work behind you on the walls, then that's a huge opportunity lost. In my studio, I had a wall where you could see Usher, you could see Kanye West, you could see Sierra, and a few other people that I had. It didn't take from the major areas, like the public areas where people could be shooting against. It was an area that you wouldn't be shooting against. It was right outside my office door. So there's a door here. So in my studio, I had my work up by the door. Imagine this is my office door. It was on a wall like this. Nobody is shooting up against this white wall. There's so many other white walls around. So what I would do is I would put up my own art here and a little bit on this side. Nobody should be shooting up against the mirrors either. So the reason why it's important for you to put your work up is because, like I said, there's always a manager waiting. There's always a label executive or a publicist waiting. And they work with other people. And they're just gonna be, so obviously you could just look at the set so much and you start getting bored. You start playing on your phone. You start looking around to see what you got. At some point, if you're doing that rotation, that walk that I told you to do a few numbers ago, and you have your work, do the math, the walk, plus the artwork equals more clients because they're going to have conversations with you. And they're gonna say, oh, were these shot here? That was the #1 question people would ask me. Were these images shot here? Kanye West, Usher, etc. And I would say, no, that's my work. And then they would look at me from this level to this level. And then they would have a conversation with me as differently from studio manager, not that there's anything disrespectful about that, to suddenly a photographer that has shot a certain level of clientele. And then they would say, do you have an Instagram? Can I check out your work? Now we exchange information and we build a relationship. It all works together. Don't waste a single square foot in your studio. This is a waste here. Put your work up here and people will check it out and people will have a conversation. If you build it, they will come. All right, let's go to the next one. Number 9, ignoring networking opportunities. Your studio is not always going to be booked. There is a certain rent you should be paying to your community, and that's like the artists that don't yet even, they've never been in a studio. They may not have the financial income to be in a studio. They may not even have a camera. One of the coolest things that I did once in my studio was I had like people in the community. I was in East Los Angeles and it was one of those things where I wasn't gonna check anyone's income levels, right? But it was one of those things where we had a photography meetup and we had some models. Remember, we got cameras and I'm patrolling and everything. People came in and I charged them, I think it was $5 each. The reason why I did $5 is because I wanted them to have some skin in the game. But they'd just be walking around, they're taking pictures, there's models, they're getting to meet other people. When you do these community days, that photographer that is dead broke, that had to borrow a camera, that photographer will one day be a big commercial photographer or a wedding photographer, and they're gonna make a lot of money. And you will have, number one, marketed with them. You will, number two, have been present and been the one to expose them to photo studios. And number three, it's a good karma point. So take advantage of that. Show the community that you're here. Make yourself the goal of what they save up for. Always be someone's save up for goal and you're good. So, okay, number 10. This studio changed my mind. Parking here, it's a great studio. It's clean, a lot of equipment, beautiful light. Horrible parking situation. They told us that it was $9 per car, which is a bit much, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna pay for mine. I'm gonna pay for Gabriel's, okay? When he got here, they're like, oh no, it's 20 bucks. That is not okay with me. That right there is how you lose. I won't be back in the studio. The parking lot is a zoo. It is Tetris plus a zoo. The parking lot is messy. The signs don't reflect the prices. Everything about it seems shady. So I won't be coming here into any photo studios back in this place. And it sucks for the person renting the studio. Make sure that your parking is taken care of. And by taken care of, I mean send them a PDF. How I had in my studio. I took Google Maps. I drew squares and triangles, whatever the shape of the parking lots were. They were color coordinated, and I would say, this is free parking area. This street is permits. This parking lot is 20 bucks. This one is 10 bucks. And I would every so often, every few months, go and just check those prices so that the information I'm giving my clients is adequate. When you give people, this client already, this studio lost me. I would love to do another shoot here. I likely won't because of the fact that it's a zoo and it just wasn't, if you don't give me proper information, because he had said it was $9, okay? It's not a lot of money, but it's about the principle. If you cannot keep your word, if you cannot be honest about something or deliver accurate information, I don't want to do business with that. And there's gonna be a lot of people like me. Some people say, I'm not paying for anyone else's parking but my own. Some people do pay for other people's. So if I had 3, 4, 5 people, 20 bucks a day, not 9, $20 per car. If I had 5 people here, that's an extra $100 I'm paying for parking. Make sure your parking is thorough and it's accurate, and that's why people come back. I will not be coming back here. If you enjoyed this video, I have like a full list of photo studio, what to do, what not to do, everything you could ever want in this playlist right here. But if you have questions, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Questions, leave a comment. I respond to each one of them and just help with that YouTube algorithm. Cool. I will see you next time.